Hey there guys, it's Brian, and today we're back with another little video on the PTR. 8.2 PTR has been live for a little bit now, and Wowhead actually has a really nice post on 2 of the new essences. We already made a video on Death Knight essences, but this is a very interesting topic, so I want to do a video on this as well, and just give my kind of first look opinions. I'm not extremely valuable source of information for things other than Blood Death Knight, but I think it would be interesting. And we're going to be talking about the Visions of Perfection trait, which is, of course, modeled after my Death Knight, which is the Vision of Perfection. And then, of course, the Memory of Lucid Dreams essence as well, which is just basically what other classes do when they go to sleep. They dream about being a Blood Death Knight. So we're going to take a look at the Blood one. Obviously, we've already seen it. These two sound incredibly powerful. If you haven't watched that video, I'd recommend go check it out. But yeah, this the Memory of Lucid Dreams basically increases your regeneration rate and has a chance to refund your resource. That's the minor. The major is the regeneration rate for 10 seconds on a 3-minute CD. So this is going to be the same thing pretty much for every class, but we're going to talk about the implications of it, like where it's really strong. And I think immediately it's really, really strong for Blood DK. Runic power is a premium for Blood DK. Other classes like Rage, like Warrior, they got enough Rage, man. They got people like Sap playing them. They don't need any more Rage, dude. That dude's Rage all day. So they're all set on that. But Prop Paladin is very interesting. Blood DK is very interesting. These classes need their resources. So let's go through every single one. And we're also going to go through the non-tank ones, of course, because those are fun too. So we already talked about the Vamp Blood one. Now for Frost, the regeneration rate is the exact same. Nothing's different about it. And I don't think it's a bad thing for Frost either. I think they also have a premium on Runic power because of the way Breath of Sindragosa works. So that's probably going to be crazy. That seems like one of the better ones too. But I guess you have to, you're going to have to use it right, because if you don't, it's basically just the same thing as Empower Rune Weapon, isn't it? So I don't know. It's kind of similar. But if you use it right and the minor works out during Breath of Sindragosa, it could be massive for Frost DK, in my opinion. But of course, like I said, not the best source of information for non-Blood DK. But either way, we'll have some fun. Now, the actual, the Vision of Perfection for Frost is Empower Rune Weapon. So that's pretty cool. Again, that's a really strong CD. I guess it could have been something else, but there's not a lot of CDs for Frost that aren't talents. So they can't really do talents, obviously. Hopefully everybody understands that. Anyway, Unholy now has maybe the worst one. I don't really know if Runic Power has a big effect as Unholy, but from what I can tell, it's not as much of a limiting factor as it is for Frost, and especially not for Blood. But then their Vision of Perfection one is Summon 1 Army of the Dead Ghoul. Oh boy, that's going to be pretty crappy, I feel like. But then their actual CD is Apocalypse. So yeah, that's summons an Army of the Dead Ghoul for each burst of Festering Wound. So that's like, one of their main CDs. I don't know, it seems okay, but I feel like Unholy's niche right now, I don't know. I'm like summoning 1 Army of the Dead Ghoul for 15 seconds, like what? So like that's something that's different, right? Because the other ones a lot of them are based on the duration. So we read this out yesterday. It still says it on Wowhead too. It's base cooldown, but what it means is base duration. So for example, Vamp Blood, 10-second base duration. It's going to be a 5-second duration when it procs from this. Okay, I've tested this out. The other thing is it cannot proc on top of itself. It will never refresh. It's not going to be additive for Blood DK, but I'm sure it's going to be for other specs, like, we're going to talk about Havoc. But if I get the proc and then use Vamp Blood immediately, it doesn't make it a 15-second thing. It's just overrides the 5-second one. So that's something to consider. Anyway, so that's Death Knight. There we go. Here we go. All right, now we go to Demon Hunter, which obviously has got one of the strongest ones. I don't know. Again, Fury, this is probably one of the weaker ones. Fury is not very, you have too much Fury, I feel like, at times, right, with Demon Hunter. I don't know if people would disagree with that. So I don't play it a lot, but from what I can tell, that's the way. But this, on the other hand, this is kind of ridiculous because your spells and ability have a chance to activate Metamorphosis for 50% of its base. You know what I mean? That's a long freaking CD. That's really long. This is probably going to be the best one. I feel like this is like the quintessential one because Metamorphosis is such a long CD. Reducing it even somewhat often is huge. Obviously, you're already reducing it by 10%. So, 10% of a 4-minute CD, that's just better, than a 1.5-minute CD. Obviously, that's going to be more valuable. And it's going to, so the problem with, the Vamp Blood one is I haven't really been able to get it to proc more than once per Vamp Blood. So it's a 1.3-minute CD now with the minor part. And if it procs, it's going to take it down to kind of like about a 1-minute CD based on, because the extra 5 seconds and then the time that's taken off, right? So it's kind of turned into a 1-minute CD now, which is great. But I've never seen it proc more than once in that 1 minute. I haven't tested it a ton. Maybe we'll test it more today. I don't know. But regardless, I haven't really seen it proc more than once. This one, though, this is probably going to proc more than once in the 4-minute window, right? So this is kind of crazy because Metamorphosis can be extended, right? Now, I don't know if there's separate rules for this type of proc Metamorphosis, but I doubt it. So if you can use this, if you can get this to proc while you have meta, it's just going to dramatically extend meta to the point where with actual meta and I-Beam and all these other things they have, you might just have this up like 90% of the dungeon. This is kind of crazy to me, and I don't know what else they can do besides meta. So other than separate rules for this, not extending current metas or something, then it would be terrible. Then it would be useless. So I don't know. This seems going to be absolutely ridiculous. Now, for unfortunately Vengeance, not nearly as strong. I don't know if they can extend meta. I don't know how it works for them. They don't have like demonic talent. They don't have all these interactions with it. But again, if you can, it's going to be good. But still, the problem with meta for Vengeance and even, with Pain, they're not resource starved. That's never been their problem. Metamorphosis is the really just worst CD in the game for tanks. I feel like it is. It's a 3-minute CD and it's garbage. I mean, it's absolutely got to be one of the worst. But, it increases your armor, whatever. So it's going to be good. It's going to kind of just be like how it was in Legion, though, with, the talent. You can still take that talent, but it's pretty garbage compared to how it was in Legion. So Vengeance, definitely not the best one in terms of tanks. Now, Druid, on the other hand. Oh, boy, Druid. Okay, so Druid, Bombkin, they get Celestial Alignment. I mean, that's pretty good. It's obviously their main CD without talents, so this is pretty good. But increasing your astral power regeneration rate and then, getting astral power. This seems like it would be really good because they're another one that the resource is fairly limited. You're not getting like tons of resources and spending tons constantly. So those classes and abilities like that require a small amount and using properly, I think is better. So this is good for balance. And also, Celestial Alignment is not terrible, probably not the best. It'd be cool if it was Trent. A little one Trent comes out, dude. How about that? One Trent comes out. He's like, hey, buddy, I got this, buddy. And then he gets knocked 40 yards away and free-healed. Anyway, Feral. Who cares? I mean, does anybody even still play this spec? Again, energy. This is probably going to be one of the worst ones, right? Because energy is a resource that really comes back quickly. So I don't know how increasing energy regeneration rate by 100% isn't going to just be you have 100% energy the whole time. I don't know if that's going to be good or bad, but it doesn't seem like it'd be that impactful. And then Berserk, like we talked about in the DPS tier list, if you haven't watched it, it's without question the worst offensive CD in the game. There's just no doubt about it. And it's a 3-minute CD, so it's like whatever. You're going to reduce it. It's going to be better, I guess, but compared to any other spec in the game, it's just going to be worse than every other option. Now, Guardian, again, we kind of have the same problem here. Rage as Guardian, you kind of get really easily. You don't actually have to work for your Rage. Compared to Runic Power, you kind of just get it for free sometimes. And that's kind of makes this a little bit worse. But Bear does have some problems keeping up its active mitigation. So, yeah, your Rage regeneration rate increasing by 100% means you're literally just going to be spamming out Iron Furs. It's going to be pretty crazy. But what's really strong is this. Survival Instincts being up. It's only going to be for 3 seconds, so that's something to consider. But the real thing is reducing it because it's the 2-charge ability. So I don't know exactly how that functions. I guess it only reduces 1 charge at a time. I don't know how that works. If anybody does know, let me know. But yeah, assuming it only reduces 1 at a time, that's gonna be pretty swell. Let's put it that way. So having even 3 seconds of survival instincts is going to be pretty nice. Unfortunately, I don't, like if it procs as infrequently as the Vamp Blood one, I assume they have all different types of procs. Like it's not gonna proc like 1 every minute kind of thing, because that would be really good for some, really bad for others. But either way, having free 50% reduction just kind of randomly throughout a dungeon is going to be really good. And of course, just reducing the CD on survival instincts. This alone, this and the magic one are probably going to Bear is going to get so much better because of these. It's going to be really nice. Anyway, Resto has a weird one. Let's talk about that. So increasing your mana regeneration rate is kind of like, I feel like that's meh, as they say. Meh? I don't know how you pronounce it. But anyway, I don't think that's great. Not grape, but great. It's not the worst. But this is very interesting. Chance to activate an immediate burst of Tranquility's healing. So I was worried about this out of the gate because I was like, wait a second. Are they going to channel? Like, you're going to just break a channel immediately if you don't know it's proccing, right? So how does this work? I don't know. Haven't tested it. But the fact that it's just a big AoE heal, probably only for instantly, like it's not going to channel, this seems pretty good. I mean, this seems like it could be really good on some raid fights where you're just constantly taking damage. Think about a fight like Grong, you know, where everybody's constantly taking a bunch of AoE damage, stuff like that. So, yeah, it's interesting. The healing ones are a little worrying. Honestly, I don't really think they're balanced very well at all. But it'd be interesting to see. As long as it's not a channel, then I think we'll be satisfied. Hunter probably has the worst out of all of them, honestly. I don't know much about survival, and I don't know much about marksman either, but I know BM has the best access to Aspect of the Wild of any class, you know, the best access to their CD, and it's only a 2-minute CD. So, like, this is just not needed. I mean, maybe Faxi, others will disagree, but I feel like you're not going to need this, right? Because in 5-mans, they already have tremendous access to this, unless they're changing the Azerite trait that's going to... And don't forget, Azerite traits are going to synergize with all this. So, like, you know, for Bear, there's already so much value from using Survival Instincts because of the Azerite trait. So it's like, that's going to just make it even better. So, like, these things are real... Like, so that's the thing about Blood, right? Vamp Blood, it lost its interaction. If we still had the Vamp Blood interaction, it would be overpowered. You'd be taking Red Thirst, Screw Bone Storm, Embrace of the Darkfallen, or whatever it was called, the leech after Vamp Blood was over. And you would just be a leeching machine, man. You'd be having it up so often. So, like, those are the things you got to think about. Where talents and other existing Azerite traits synergize with these essences. And I don't really know most things about most classes. That's why I'm saying that this is kind of just going to be a fun little video. But, you know, for Blood DK with the, you know, the way Vamp Blood's worked in the past, you could see some huge upsides to this. But since they lost their Azerite trait, it's going to be less for sure. So, you know, BM didn't lose its Azerite trait, at least to my knowledge. So it kind of just makes it worse. And it's the same deal with the survival. I mean, who even cares about survival? A 2-minute CD, you and your pet attack as one. That's good. That must be nice of you if you're like RP or something like that. Anyway, marksmanship, really, probably, this one's actually probably the best out of the three. I don't know much about marksman, but I do know that their burst is huge. And I don't know, though, maybe like random burst is not good for Spec. I don't really play DPS, so I can't really tell, but that maybe isn't the best option. So let's take a look at Mage. Mage has just like exactly what you'd expect, just pretty straight down the line. You know, you're going to get a mana regeneration, which does not help Frost whatsoever, to my knowledge. So that's pretty garbage. But it's mana for all three. And that's what I'm a little bit worried about. It's like, that's horrible. I don't know why you don't use a resource as Frost, right? So it's like, this one's just absolute trash. You don't need mana and you don't have a resource. So that's the problem with some of these, you know? That's why some are just considerably better than others. But Icy Veins, one of the best CDs in the game for range damage dealers, if you ask me. 3-minute CD. So this is kind of like, again, just like we talked about in the DPS tier list, Mage is kind of the baseline for every other spec, especially every other range. Solid 3-minute CD, reducing it by, you know, blah, 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 having it proc every once in a while. And it is a 20-second duration, so this is going to last 10 seconds. That's pretty sizable, you know what I mean? That's pretty good, so this is a good one. Again, Arcane actually gets value from mana, so this might actually be the best one because Arcane Power is very good, and it costs, or it actually only lasts for 10 seconds, but it's a 1.5-minute CD, so it's basically identical to Vamp Blood. Go to proc at least once. But again, it's like, you know, I don't know. It's going to be hard to use well. I feel like these small procs for damage dealers, you know, outside of like the meta or the wings, they're going to be hard to use well. So I don't know. I don't know how people are going to value this. But then Combustion, I feel like this is really odd. Engulf yourself in flames for 10 seconds, increasing your spells critical strikes by 100%, and granting you mastery equal to 50% of your crit stats, castable while casting other spells. So it's like, this one, I don't know if you would even want this randomly, right? I guess like using the CD more often is just always better, but it's like, you gotta know you have this, and you gotta be ready for it, right? If you don't have things going as fire, you're not gonna do much damage with it at all. It's gonna be pointless. So that one might be the worst one either way. But the fact that they all give mana for the memory of lucid dreams, I could see why they're dreaming about being a Blood DK. Let's put it that way. All right, let's keep moving. We got Monk. All right, we have Brewmaster. I think actually these are the worst ones. Monk, well, besides Windwalker. Monk, you get energy regeneration rate, which I guess is good. Like I said, it's hard to compare to runic power, obviously, but it's pretty good, I guess. You know, not terrible. More energy, more spells. But then this is where things are like, So Fortifying Brew is a 7-minute CD. Let that sink in. It's already a really, really, really long CD. So reducing the cooldown of it by 15% seems ridiculous. And it might be. But from what I've been told, Fortifying Brew is just kind of like a weak... It's one of the weaker CDs. It's not probably not quite as bad as meta, but like your strength as monk is through your active mitigation. You know what I mean? Like the actual whatever the other spells are even called, like purifying the brew and iron skin brew. That's it. Those are the strengths, the bread and butter of monk. So like, you know, getting fortifying brew in the middle of all of that, it's like, does that help? I guess again, you know, the more it happens, the better. But you'd think a 7-minute CD being reduced, because it's already reduced when you use brews, right? Is that how it works? Whenever you use a brew, a little bit of time comes off fortifying brew. So it's like, I think it's like, in effect, it's kind of like a 4-minute CD. I don't know. Maybe you guys know more. But I know haste is not as valuable to them, so it's like not really going to get reduced that much. But regardless, it is 15% for fortifying brew. So that's going to reduce it substantially already. So I don't know. Maybe you're just going to be having fortifying brew up constantly. Maybe that is going to be really good for Brewmaster. But on paper, it sounds like they don't, like, let's put it this way. They don't need Fortifying Brew as much as Blood Decay needs Vamp Blood. You understand? Like, that's just not what they do. So that's kind of the weaker one. I still maintain that Vamp Blood is the best tanking CD in the game. And among all of these, I think they get the best access to it. So now Mistweaver's got probably the oddest one. But, you know, again, you get the mana regen. So it's like, okay, that's probably the best it can be for Mistweaver, right? Because... you know, we talked about this on stream, much to the chagrin of one viewer, but I do think they're the worst at mana regeneration. So it's like, this is really good for them, better than other healers in my opinion. But this one, it's like, I mean, first of all, I don't know if this is a joke value or if this is like for like if you're like 12 and you need a small, like a level 12 version of it or something like that. I mean, surely that's gonna heal for more than that, right? But this might actually be a problem, okay? Because there's times when you don't want to dispel things randomly. And I don't know if it's going to dispel. Maybe it won't dispel as well, but, you know, one of the big things about Revival is that it instantly dispels all types of harmful effects. And if that just happens randomly on a fight, that could be really bad, right? Like, you might actually wipe because of this trait. So I do feel like this one's actually a detriment if it dispels. If it doesn't, then it's kind of just a weak-ass heal. I don't know how valuable. I don't know what that number is. 3,000. I mean, come on. I auto attack and leech for 3,000, so that's bad. But anyway, reducing the cooldown of Revival is whatever. They already have stuff like that. I think it reduces the cooldown of Revival, so I guess they don't really need that. That one seems kind of weak. I don't really like monks. But this one does, obviously, you know, Storm, Earth, and Fire. All three of these are good. Storm is great. Earth is good. Fire is even better, right? Of course, if you're a fan of Avatar: Last Airbender, you understand why all three of these are good. So the only thing missing is water. Unfortunately, you're not getting it with this trait. But yeah, I mean, again, 50% of it's based. So this is a pretty, you know, relatively long CD in terms of a damage dealing thing, and this is just free. Like when this procs, you're doing so much more damage. One of the best CDs in the game for 5-mans, like we talked about in the tier list, and reducing it again by 15%. I mean, hey, pretty generous, right? So I think this is probably one of the better ones for DPS, just because the accessibility of the ability is so strong anyway. And the viability of having it proc randomly is just better than, like, you know, like we're talking about like combustion, you know what I mean? All right, Paladin. Now they have a very interesting one. Let's put it this way. So Prot actually gets wings instead of like Goak or whatever you call it, Guardian of Ancient Kings. So I was kind of surprised. I figured they would get Guardian of Ancient Kings, right? Because, you know, everybody else gets a defensive one. They get wings, which is arguably probably better because, you know, Goak is just pure defense. This actually can give offense too, and it's going to give offense. And again, lasts for 20 seconds, so it's going to be there for 10 seconds, and it's a 3-minute CD. So this is actually reduced for some reason by 16.5%. So it's like, who knows what they're doing here? I don't know. Maybe this is some kind of data mining error. I'd have to check it out personally. But the weird part is, this is a weird part. So you're increasing your mana regeneration rate, but Shield of the Righteous is also reduced by 50% on its recharge. So is this just the best one? I mean, this is just like objectively better than every other one, right? Because they don't have a resource. Shield of the Righteous is not a resource, okay? They're trying to make it sound like it is on this. It's not a resource. Not a resource. But it's like, imagine if Demon Spikes was just on this, right? This is basically the equivalent. This is the, like, you know, if Demon Spikes was on this list instead of, it's not, right? Hold on, let's make sure we didn't miss something there, because if I miss something, then we have something to talk about. But no, I mean, I didn't. It's just pain for them. So I don't know, maybe this is data mining, maybe this is bugged, maybe it's not going to go this way. But Shield of the Righteous Recharge being reduced by 50%, that's kind of crazy. Isn't that kind of crazy? But the problem is, it doesn't do anything else. The miner is useless, completely useless. Like, again, you don't use mana as a prop pally. It's garbage. So I don't know. I guess you could heal each other. I don't know. So that one's kind of weird. That one, like, makes me a little bit confused. But anyway, the fact that they get wings is crazy. So something we should talk about, right, is when you use wings now on live, you instantly get something like an extra passive crit for one of your spells. It's the heal. Holy Pally is Holy Shock, and Ward of Glory, or I'm sorry, it's not Ward of Glory, it's Divine Storm for Ret, right? So does that happen? We'll have to test it. I don't know. I didn't test it. But maybe if that happens, then this is broken. But who knows? Again, like, we don't know what these interactions are going to look like, because there's a couple of them that are going to dramatically improve your ability. And I think wings for all three of these specs is going to be absolutely insane. So Ret, Ret might actually have the best case for it, because especially if it's still, for some reason, 16.5%. I don't understand where these values are coming from. But anyway, it's increasing all damage and healing done, and it still lasts for 20 seconds. It's the same spell, right? Exactly the same. But as you know, Ret has so much access to burst anyway. Oh, this is just going to be ridiculous, man. I'm telling you, if you are able to keep, even, an extra 50% uptime on Avenging Wrath because of these, you're going to be crushing. But of course, who knows, Season 2, you might not need it as much. But the other problem, though, of course, is that this one gives mana. So this is just garbage for Ret. Absolute garbage. I mean, I don't know if you're using mana as Ret, but if you are, this has got to be, this is just not going to be good, right? It's like, imagine if it gave Holy Power, right? That's what I'm saying. Like, so like this one gives freaking Shield of the Righteous recharge time, and this one could have give Holy Power. Could you imagine if it gave like one Holy Power? Even that would be great. Like the instant 3-minute CD, this instant 3-minute CD, clear your mind, attune yourself with Heart of Azerite, giving you instantly 3 Holy Power. You know what I mean? Forget all this other nonsense. Who cares about mana? I don't know. I feel like they should change this. Anyway, Holy probably, again, has one of the better ones, because it's the same deal here. Provided they get the extra crit on Holy Shock, which I don't know if they will, but it's like, that would be insane. Oh, you know what I mean? Just absolutely blasting Holy crits, and that would be a huge DPS and HPS gain for no matter what you're doing. And then, of course, mana for healer. It's just going to be more valuable than most specs. Like, a lot of specs just don't have a resource. That's why I was really surprised when this is actually, like, I didn't think this was going to be for anything but tanks, because it's like a lot of specs don't have a resource, right? But anyway, Dix Priest has the same thing, the mana regen, nothing special there. Like I said, probably not as great for Dix Priest. I don't really use mana like that, but now they get Rapture. Now this is an interesting one, because this could be a really big deal, or it could be really bad. I'll have to talk to Vic and others. It's a 10% reduction on a 1.5 minute CD. So effectively exactly just like Vamp Blood again. It's a 10-second duration, so it's going to last for 5 seconds. But Rapture is really strong. It's a really strong CD. It's something that allows you to have serious on-the-move potential as well. And it obviously is going to spread shields and atonement to many targets. So I feel like this might actually be the best healing one. I mean, compared to the other ones, I think this might have the most benefit too, because of course absorbs are just, naturally very useful. And I think this is really good. It could have been Barrier, which would have been useless, right? Because I don't know how they would have even done it. So Rapture, the fact that it's Rapture is probably pretty crazy. And then, conversely, we have Holy, which same deal. They get mana, so whatever. They use, I guess, a lot of mana as Holy, so that's, maybe good for them too. But the thing is, Divine Hymns, immediate burst of healing. So it's like, again, as long as it's not a channel, I guess it's going to be cool. The cool thing about Divine Hymn is it's a 3-minute CD again, reduced by 10 seconds. So it's like, you're not gaining, I feel like you're not gaining much out of this. You know what I mean? Like, for example, Rapture is going to be there for 5 seconds. So you're going to get at least, 3? At least maybe 4 barriers off. You know what I mean? But Divine Hymn is just, that's it. Apparently, it's just one heal. An immediate burst of Divine Hymn's healing effect. So who knows? They're going to have to overtune it, right? Because otherwise it's just going to be worse than things like Rapture. And Wing. Obviously, it's going to be considerably worse than Wings. 10 seconds of Wings on a Holy Pally, you can get some work done. Especially with Glimmer. You can get some work done. But it's like Divine Hymn, it's like, it's either a channel for like half its duration and you break it immediately by accident, or it's garbage. I feel like it's going to be garbage. I don't know. Anyway, and then Shadow, I mean, again, I guess the Insanity regeneration rate is actually really good, right? Like, you have to be insane to play this spec, right? So that seems like it'd be really good. And then Shadow Fiend, I mean, again, Shadow Priest, one of the worst CD hits in the game. Don't really need it because they're all dot damage, but it's like, I don't know. I don't know much about Shadow, so let's not meme any harder. Anyway, Rogue, probably another stable one. I just don't know about energy, you know what? It's like energy regen so quick anyway, especially when you have bloodlust and stuff. It's like, do we need 100% regeneration rate? I don't know. Probably not if you were asking me, but maybe I'm wrong. Obviously, I could be very wrong. Now, Vendetta, you know, one of the most iconic CDs for Rogues. Assassination, very strong. Subtlety, I don't know anything about a single thing. Shadow Blade's a 3-minute CD, though, so draws upon Shadow, surrounding Shadow to empower your weapons, causing your combo point generating abilities to generate 1 additional combo points and deal 50% additional damage. I mean, that seems like a pretty unique CD, but I don't know anybody playing Subtlety, so I don't know anything about it. I think Tagore used to play Subtlety. Maybe he knows more. Anyway, Outlaw, obviously, you know, we know all about Outlaw. Adrenaline Rush, it's just a good pick, right? It's just like, it's going to be all right. I don't know if it's going to be the best. It's like another, you know, solid. If this happens while you're AoEing, then that's fine. That's a good thing. You know what I mean? That's not a bad thing in any way. The thing is, it also, Adrenaline Rush increases your energy regeneration rate. So it's kind of be like, these two together are going to be like, you just literally have 100 energy over and over again, probably. So I don't know. That seems interesting, but they're already strong, so I don't know. Now, Shaman, this is probably the one that I was most excited for. A little disappointed. We'll talk about why, but the Ellie one is interesting. Now, Maelstrom generation rate by 100%. It's like, this could be a bad thing. You're going to be wasting Maelstrom, I feel like, right? There's times, I guess it's because of overloads. I don't actually know a lot about Ellie, even though I've been playing it a bunch recently. It's like, sometimes I just randomly have 100 Maelstrom, and I think it has something to do with overloading. I should probably know that, but regardless, it's like, you know, I don't know, because if you do an overload, especially like if you already have like 30 or so Maelstrom, then you're just going to waste it all. It's going to be entirely wasted. So I don't know if that's going to be very valuable. And it's a 3-minute CD, so it's like, I don't know. But the cool thing is the spells refunding. I think this is actually better for Ellie than most specs because you actually have a talent that you value the refund already. So it's like double refund is actually really good. So this could be good. The minor power could actually be really good. Whereas the other times it'd be the major power that you'd be excited about. This time I think it'd be the minor power. But anyway, the problem here is this is not good. I don't feel like proccing this randomly is good for anybody. But I am very interested to see how it works with Storm Ellie. Because obviously, you know, Storm Ellie and Primal Elementalist is a big burst of damage. And it has that active ability. So I think this actually could be one of the strongest ones. It's just, again, proccing it randomly could be very bad. It could be, like, not helpful. You know what I mean? It might not help you at all. But if you can use that ability with, like, if this synergizes with Primal Elementalist and Storm Elemental, this could actually be huge. You know what I mean? I don't know, like, how it's going to work. If when the CD is out, you can use that ability. But if so, like, that's a big deal, right? So, I don't know. Very interesting is seeing Ellie, unfortunately, enhances on this list, too. Feral Spirit's activating is actually not that bad because the wolves are a pretty big deal and they last 15 seconds. A chance to activate Feral Spirit for 50% of its face spirit. So I don't know, you still get 2, right? I kind of like, there was a trait, an Azerite trait, I think it was on the beta, where it was like randomly you would just proc a Feral Spirit. And me and Sai were testing it out. You basically just have like an army of spirits. You'd have like 3 or 4 following you at any given time. It was so cool. I love stuff like that. So it's kind of cool, like, thematically for Ellie, for Enhance, right? It's way cooler than Fire Elemental just coming out and be like, fire, be purged, or whatever they say, you know? So, I don't know. It seems kind of cool, but, you know, Enhance is so garbage. I don't know. Anyway, it's not that bad. But Resto is, again, mana is going to be great. You know, mana is second worst mana regeneration class, in my opinion, even though they have the passive, which is going to be good. Kind of just makes them better than Mistweaver, but still, they're pretty rough on mana. So this would be good for them. And obviously, since this is also uniquely interesting because refunding 50% of the mana spent on some of these spells, that could be a big deal. Chain Heal casts a lot of times and uses a lot of mana. So yeah, that could be really good with the new High Tide talent, right? So actually could be really useful. But the problem here is this is absolute garbage. Healing Tide is the worst healing CD in the game without any question. There's just no doubt about it. So again, 5 seconds of Healing Tide, it's kind of just garbage, right? Like I wished could. So I was thinking, imagine if this is why I was upset. Imagine if it was Spirit Link. Just set that down and walk away from it. Imagine if Spirit Link just dropped at your location and lasted for like 3 seconds or whatever. I don't know, however long half duration would be. So that's what it could have been, but it's Healing Tide instead. Right? So the best CD in the game or the worst CD in the game. It chose the worst CD in the game. And yeah, obviously reducing its CD, healing for 5%. It's like, this is just, it's not good for Ellie. It's not good for Resto, I'm sorry. It's definitely, I think, the worst healing one, even though, those other ones seem weird. I think they have the worst one, so. Anyway, Affliction actually is really odd. I don't know a lot about Dark Glare, but I'm going to read it. Summons a Dark Glare from the Twisting Nether, extends the duration of your damage over time effects on all enemies by 8 seconds. From what I could tell, using this very meticulously is the way that you do well as Affliction. So is using it randomly good? Like, I could see this not actually being good at all. Like, this one actually being bad. But maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't actually know why it would be bad. I just know that everybody says using Dark Glare at the precise right moment is huge. A huge part of your burst DPS, right? So it's like, I feel like if you use it at the wrong moment, that could be a really big problem. So I don't know what you guys play in Affliction. Maybe you guys know more than I do, obviously. But this is the interesting part. Soul Shard generation rate by 100%. So this is kind of just runic power on steroids here, right? Because you only have 5 of them. so like, what, you're going to waste a lot of them probably. And it's like, well, I don't know, how many spells do you even have that increases, that generates Soul Shards? It's like Warlock is a really weird one because your resource is really finite. Really finite. But that makes it better. I don't know. I'm very interested in seeing what happens here. So I don't know. But anyway, I do think, the Warlock ones are pretty... If the Affliction one is good, then I think they're all pretty good. Because summoning Demonic Tyrant, I mean, that seems like that would be pretty good. I don't know much about Demo either. Really, Warlock's the class I know the least about, honestly. But increasing damage of all your other demons by 15%, even if it's only for a few seconds. That seems like that's going to be really good all around. So... Again, the Soul Shard thing is weird, but the actual Visions of Perfection is good. And then Infernal is the weird one, right? Because Infernal is one of its big things is it stuns all enemies when it lands. So is it going to stun the enemy? Because you could drop Infernal, right? You choose where you drop it. So what's going to happen when it activates Summon Infernal for 50% of its base, whatever, duration? Is it just going to land wherever the hell it wants? Is it going to land at your current target? Where is it going to land? This is like a unique one, right? Because I was thinking about this with Spirit Link. I'm like, oh, I hope it's Spirit Link. Oh, my God, I hope it's Spirit Link. But where's it going to put it? It could put it in a bad place. That would be bad. But this is like, if it's not going to stun the enemy, I guess it might just be, I am an Infernal. It might just come out. You know what I mean? It might not land. I don't know. So that's something to think about. But I really know nothing about them. Now, Warrior, obviously, yeah, we have some interesting ones. Okay, Bladestorm. For how long does it actually last? Oh, it only lasts for 4 seconds. I was a little more hyped up about this, but now I'm a little confused. It's only a 1-minute CD, and it's decreased by 15%. I guess that's just to make sure that it, as a 1-minute CD, it's valuable. So I don't know. 2 seconds of Bladestorm, is that good? That's got to be like the weakest. Well, obviously, this is the weakest per duration, one way or the other. I don't know if that's bad or good, though. I don't know. You guys tell me. Maybe Sap knows more if he's watching. But I don't know. I feel like increasing your rage regeneration rate is just the weakest resource to do this on, right? Because maybe I'm wrong, but it's like I feel like you're over-capped on these resources. It's like this with Vengeance and Havoc, too. Like, you get way more resources than you need to use. You're almost unable to use them as fast as you get them. So I don't know if that's good or not. That one seems like quite bad, honestly. But this one, it's like, it could be really, really good. I mean, Bladestorm's one of the best CDs in the game, like, historically, right? But it's like, if it's only going to be there for 2 seconds, it's like, I don't know. Anyway, Fury has Recklessness, which a much more appropriate CD to get, I think. Bladestorm really doesn't strike me as a CD like this. It shouldn't probably be on that list, but maybe it's because they have no other option. But going Berserk is obviously a good thing, and increasing all regeneration rate by 100%. So it's like these two together, again, you're just having like way too much Fury. I don't know. Or not Fury, but Rage, of course. Fury is the spec. Anyway, granting your abilities 20% increased critical strike chance for 5 seconds total when this is up. That can't be a problem, right? That just can't be a problem at all. So I don't know. But then, yeah, reducing the cooldown of Recklessness by 15% again. So I don't know. You guys tell me. But I just think like these are kind of just weaker for Warrior in general. Like these classes that have, especially the Rage access, these kind of shorter CDs that are kind of just like, you want to line them up and go Berserk's mode with them. You don't want them to just kind of have happen randomly. Obviously, it's going to be good to have access to these more often, but if you don't line things up properly, then they're not going to be great, right? Now, this is the one, I'm glad we saved this one for last, because this is the one that just, I'm done, Blizzard. I'm done. You know what I mean? Done. Forget about it. Just forget about it. First of all, Prot Warrior does not need Rage at all. They have way too much access to Rage anyway. Of all the 6 resource tanks, they don't need access to this at all. This is going to be horrible. Memory of Lucid Dreams. I feel like it's going to be completely useless for Prot Warrior. But then you got this. Are you joking? Who? What? So you're trying to nerf their damage, and then you put this in the game? Who's design? Is Ian? Are you trolling, Ian? Come on, buddy. You knocked this off, man. You gotta knock this off, man. Are you joking? Why is it not Shield Wall? How do you give? I mean, I can understand giving Prot Warrior wings, right? Prot Warrior wings is one thing, but this is literally only an offensive CD. This is not a defensive CD. You know what I mean? I mean, it has a little bit of defensive synergy, and it's defensive in the way that you will top the DPS charts, and everybody else is going to be talking about how great you are. That's good for the ego. It makes you play better. So that it's defensive in that way. But come on, are you kidding me, man? Reducing Avatar, which is already ridiculously reduced thanks to a talent that shouldn't even be in the game for Prot Warrior at this point. Overpowered as hell. It's the main reason that Prot Warrior is broken right now. Everybody's talking about Thunderclap damage with the Storm talent, whatever. That's good. That's a good change. It's going to make them do less damage. Not that much less, but it is going to make them do less. And then you got this. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. I'm interested in hearing your thoughts. But anyway, that's that. I'm really excited about this system, and these are really cool. I'm really glad to hear that they're going to be in the game for every spec, not just tanks. I originally thought it was going to be tanks only. So I do think Blood DK, of course, partial Blood DK, has the best ones. Bear has probably second best in terms of tanks. Paladin probably has third best. Demon Hunter, Paladin, you know, they're pretty good. They're okay. I don't know. Meta's not great. It's just like the resource part is useless, right? So like both of these together aren't really going to be useful for anybody but Blood DK. But these two together are going to be huge for Blood DK, man. Getting extra runic power during Vamp Blood is just going to be so useful. So anyway, let me know what you guys think. I'm interested in hearing your thoughts. But otherwise, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.